We're talking about fish that have a purpose in your aquarium.
So starting off here, I have a picture of an Atlantic blue tang. That's what I personally have in my reef aquarium in the Caribbean tank. But this, I'm kind of referring to all tangs, really. Just having a cool fish that is able to keep up with your algae growth, and they eat a wide variety of algae. They'll eat just about any species, sometimes hair algae as well, but not typically. But they will munch on algae because, I mean, that's what they do all day in the wild. Is they just constantly graze and just munch on algae. Obviously, you're not going to be able to put these in your nano tanks. Like we said earlier, you can't put them in like a 5-gallon or even a 10-gallon. A lot of like the zebra soma tanks, which don't get as big, a lot of people usually say 75 gallons is kind of the limit for those.
Yeah.
And that is, of course, for long-term success. Like, you could probably put one in a 40-gallon, like if it's super small, and grow it out and then maybe upgrade it, but it's not going to really live in there long-term and be completely healthy, because these tangs, they love to swim. That's what they do in the wild. They're never in the same area for very long. They constantly just graze on other reefs. So
yeah, for sure. And that's a very pretty tang right there. It's a pretty blue color that they have. So I mean, it goes to show you that just because you're finding a fish that has a certain job, they don't have to be like an ugly fish. There's some really beautiful fish that will chow down on algae all day long. And speaking of the zebra soma variety, we have the yellow tang here. It's a great fish to have in your reef aquarium. Of course, the larger tank, like Levi's saying. This one's a little bit harder to find. Usually going to pick them up captive bred now. Biota doing a good job over there with the yellow tangs. Well, this is one of my favorite tangs. Just the pop of yellow that you get in your aquarium with having a yellow tang, and then having him graze on algae all day long is just really
yellow
cool.
tangs are some of my favorite as well.
Yeah, they're super.
The zebra soma genus in general is pretty sweet.
Yes.
Sail fins, purples, gem tangs, black tangs.
Yeah, so if you can keep a tang in your aquarium, I say go for it. They're definitely a really cool fish to have. I just wanted to introduce to you my first ever children's book. I'm super excited to finally release this on Amazon. So if you have a child anywhere from like 2 to 12, they will enjoy this book. This book is all about Finn, the brave blue tang. Now, I wrote this book for kids that may be scared or nervous about making new friends, to show that they can be brave and strong. And even though there may be challenges and unknowns, that children can still make new friends, and making friends is a beautiful thing. It's full of colorful pages that kids are going to enjoy. So go ahead and check this out. It is called Finn, the Brave Blue Tang. I'm super excited, super proud of this book. If you want to check out this book, it's available now on Amazon. Link is in the description below. Another fish that I don't know if this fish gets overlooked often, but foxface. What about a rabbitfish in your aquarium?
Yeah, rabbitfish are some of my favorite as well. I mean, they're good herbivores. They'll graze on algae similar to tangs. A lot of the times in the wild, when you see them, they're grazing right alongside other tangs. Yeah, they're really good to have in your tank. I mean, I've heard of people saying, oh, they've nipped at zoas and they've nipped at a couple other corals, but I mean, who's to say tangs won't do the same thing? I mean, as long as you keep a good supply of algae in the system, I don't think you're really going to have any issues. I mean, if you run out of algae completely and you're not feeding algae like on a little algae clip or anything, you might run into that when they start getting a little hungry. But I mean, as long as you're keeping their algae supply and their natural food source available, then they're going to eat that.
Yeah, and this is another fish that you kind of want to keep in like a 75-gallon or larger.
Yep.
This guy can grow pretty large. I think, like 8 inches or so.
Yeah, 8 to 9 inches, I would say, for that species.
And one thing to look out for, they do have a venomous spine up there. So you got to be careful handling them. Once they're in the tank, you're fine. Just don't be, I guess, reaching your hand around the fish all the time. But yeah, they're great. I had one in the 210-gallon tank for a little bit before we kind of changed what type of fish we wanted to have in there. But yeah, this guy's great. A foxface, just the way it interacts in your reef aquarium, great algae eater for sure.
Definitely.
All right, so we got tangs, we got foxface. Moving right along through the algae eaters, if you're having trouble manually controlling algae, how about a Lawnmower Benny? So Lawnmower Benny, they are fascinating to watch. They bring quite the character to your aquarium, and you can keep these guys in like around a 30-gallon tank or larger. You probably get away with a little bit smaller, but I think generally around 30 gallons is what is recommended for this guy.
Yeah, they can get it. That specific species can get kind of large.
Yeah.
But yeah, 30 gallons would be plenty. And even for some of your smaller nano systems, I mean, you could look into like the bicolor blenny, tail spot blennies, and some of the other smaller species. They don't get as big.
Yeah, and all of these that we're talking about right now are going to be great for algae control in your reef aquarium. And I kind of wanted to throw this one in there because he works well in a smaller tank.
Yep.
So we're not just talking about larger aquarium fish. We're going to have a mixture as the podcast goes on. But yeah, this guy is great. We had one years ago, and my wife is always wanting to get another one. So we'll probably be adding one to our system here shortly. If not, find some kind of blenny to add to like the small 10-gallon tanks, like the smaller blennies you were talking about.
Yeah, I've always liked the starry blennies too. They're a little more expensive, but they're like kind of like a blackish color with like white dots on them. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah, those are really, really neat. If you enjoyed this video, then I know you're going to love the full podcast episode. Go ahead and click or tap your screen to watch that. Thank you so much for watching, liking, and subscribing, and I will see you next time on the Coral Reef Talk.